Unfortunately, I didn't come with the citation with Representative Frost, but Senator Moore and I were saying that we can actually spray paint our citation on the side of the tank if we could. But I also wanted to echo the same message that Senator Moore shared, because it's actually, at the State House we always talk about partnership, which is such an important thing, and knowing that the town of Oxford and the private industry working together to help the community is such a great thing that you can't overlook. And I also wanted to reach out to the Hartman family, who's actually, because of their commitment to the community. They're very well known out in the community of Barry, and they've always been very community oriented, and they've reached out and donated a good portion of this land so this project could move forward. So I think a special kudos to the Hartman family. I know that at some point there'll be a special dedication for your brother, Lynn's brother, later on down the road. And I know Representative Goby shares. Unfortunately, she could not be here. She sends her regrets in not being here to be a part of this event, because it's a great thing, because you're reaching out not just for Barry, but out to Oxford to help out town of Oxford and the people in the community. So I know I speak for myself, Representative Goby, and the legislative team. We look forward to working with the town of Oxford, as well as the Hartman family, and reaching out to make that special dedication as well. But congratulations for the town of Oxford for this great partnership and helping out the community, and as well as this public safety part as well. So good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the town of Oxford for inviting all of us to come and join in this dedication of the water tank. Again, as is already Senator Moore and Representative Alicia have said, this is such a shining example of public and private partnership, of people coming together, making something happen, such as this.
Good evening, everybody. The time being 7:02 p.m., I will call the Selectmen's meeting to order this evening. The 6:15 agenda item, which we've already undertaken, was a groundbreaking celebration ceremony at 503 Main Street for the new police station. So I want to thank everybody who came out and attended. We did have a nice turnout. The weather cooperated, and it was a very historical event. So I want to thank everybody for coming, and I'm sure everybody will be very interested in that project as it develops. The next item on the agenda this evening, we have all good stuff tonight, is a proclamation of May White Day upon her 100th birthday, which is today, July 8th. We are fortunate enough to have May with us this evening. She took the time out of her schedule to come here tonight, and if she would like to come forward, or if she wants to stay where she is, whatever she's most comfortable with.
Just bring the chair over.
Okay, great.
Am I supposed to go right here?
You're right. In the hot seat.
I watch all this on television, and I can't believe it. No. It won't be on television now, will it? There you go. Thank you. I got healed right up.
Perfect.
You can watch yourself on TV tomorrow.
Oh, glory. That will be, yes, that will be something. Everybody turn that things off.
Well, it's great to have you here with us, May, and I would like to welcome you and take the opportunity to read a proclamation that the board would like to present to you tonight to celebrate your 100th birthday, and then open the floor up to you, and you can say anything you want to say or anything you're thinking, and we'll go from there. Proclamation. Whereas the Oxford Board of Selectmen takes the opportunity of May White's 100th birthday to send her cordial wishes and thank her for her service to the town over the years. And whereas, being the great-granddaughter of Captain David Barton and great-grandniece of Clara Barton, founder of the American Red Cross, May has been a living wealth of information and history for the town and its inhabitants. And whereas, May has generously given of her time serving on the Oxford Historical Commission, formerly as a member and presently as an associate member. Her avid interest in family and town history has made her an invaluable resource to her family, the residents, the town of Oxford, and the Clara Barton birthplace. And whereas May has loaned and donated many Barton family artifacts to the collection of the Clara Barton birthplace, May assists at this museum with events and was an early advocate of the Clara Barton Camp, which has run educational programs for children with diabetes since 1932. And whereas the board sends its sincerest thanks to May for all she has done for the town of Oxford and wishes her a happy, healthy 100th birthday and many, many more. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Oxford Board of Selectmen, join with the residents of the town of Oxford to honor May White and proclaim her birthday, June 8, 2008, as May White Day in the town of Oxford. Given our hands this 24th day of June, 2008. Jenny O'Casey, Chairman, Hank LaMountain, Vice Chairman, Susan M. Gallant, Secretary, Daniel P. Coonan, John G. Sad, Joseph M. Zaneski, Oxford Town Manager. Thank you, May. Congratulations.
I want to say something.
You absolutely can. Mike, the
I
floor
think
is
I
yours.
can talk better if I stand up.
All right, there you go.
I want to thank you very much. This is quite an honor to come down to the town meeting. I haven't been to town meeting for quite a while. I used to come, but, and I want to thank everybody, especially the officials, for keeping Oxford a good place to live in. And that's something in this day and age. And I thank you very much, and I thank you for this.
May, and we have one other special gift for you. It's a cane that I'd like to present you.
Oh, isn't it funny?
A
Whatever happened?
centenarian cane.
I thought the cane got lost.
No, we've...
This is a different one.
This is a different one. This is presented to you by the town, and it reads on it, Town of Oxford, official centenarian cane, May O. White, July 8th, 2008. And we'd like to present this to you in honor of your 100th
Oh, that's
birthday.
wonderful. My grandmother had it at one time.
Is that right?
She lived to be 93. She wasn't. So you outdid her. One in the family. Oh, what a beautiful one. This is real elegant, isn't it? Well, the doctor told me to carry a cane, and then she said, no, you'll probably fall over it. So I never
That's
carried
the
a
chair
cane,
there.
but I'll have to now, because I've got such a beautiful one. And hold on to it while I sit down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Board members. Selectman Gallant,
How
Selectman
do I
Sapp.
roll back?
No, not just yet.
You're truly amazing. Do you have any advice for us that are under 100 in town?
Oh, I'm not giving out advice today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
John?
No, but I do appreciate what the little things that you people do that just keeps this town going. Like John Sad, he's hung on. I'm so glad. That gives you a stabilization. And everybody, most people won't give up that much time. And I think it's great. Anybody that works or serves on the town. I like what I did, which wasn't much, but I always like being on committees and being part of it.
You know, May, she's quite humble, but May was always involved in Oxford. Oxford was always her first love. You served on the Historical Commission. You were a wealth of knowledge. I can remember when I first got on the board, and I can remember Janice Moore telling me, if you ever want to learn anything about Clara Barton, you've got to ask May White. She knows it all.
Well, I should, of course, related.
Yes.
But, yes, the birthplace today gave me a party. Imagine getting all these parties in one day. I go to the hairdresser and have a hair, which was quite overcoming. So, and I think, really, it's been wonderful. And, of course, I was born here. And I was born on West Street in a cottage. And lived here all my life. My ancestors started the town. And they were selectmen and teachers and everything, so I have a connection, very much so.
Do you remember
I just love it.
Do you remember who the president was when you were born?
No, I don't. Nobody told me.
Nobody told you?
I was probably should know, but I don't.
That was too many years ago, anyway.
I went to the doctors a year ago in September, and I didn't feel very good, so they said, come right down, so I went down. And I had never seen the doctor, and he was fairly young. And he looked at me, and he says, you're 99, they tell me. And I said, yes. He said, first thing he said was, were automobiles invented then? Never mentioned health or anything. The next day, he came in, and he said, we have examined you on everything. And he said, you're the one person I know that's nothing wrong with him. Can you imagine that?
Nice.
That's my story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. We have several relatives, friends, and family here to support May, and thank you, everybody, for coming.
4 generations.
4 generations
Great.
here. Thank you. Wow. Take care.
Thank you again.
Thank you for coming.
Have a good evening.
That's nice. Thank you.
Oh, big time. Nice.
Okay. Okay, we are a few minutes behind schedule, but well worth it. We have a 7:05 executive session scheduled, and I do believe there should be, I don't know if I have to the manager the section. Thank you very much. It's in here. I'd entertain a motion that the board go into executive session under Section 6 of the Open Meeting Law to consider the purchase, exchange, taking, leasing, or value of real property if such discussion may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the governmental body. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and for purposes of discussion, I just want to point out to the public that we do have additional agenda items after this executive session. Item will be coming out of executive session to convene regular business. So having said that, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, but we will be going to executive session. Thank you.
You can't imagine. I spent a lot of time negotiating with the water company. Larry will tell you what a wonderful thing this is now, but to make this happen, I thought it was the last thing from his mind. But it says Oxford Aquarium Tank. Now, that's an Oxford slash, so it's because it's both of us. It was dedicated, was put online May 13th, 2008. Now, the little squiggly thing is the Tata and Howard logo. I don't know where you see Tata there, but...
It's like water, Joe.
Oh, it's like water. It's like water, he tells me.
To say yes.
Yes.
There you go. Duh.
Ready? To a wonderful, the results of a sometimes difficult but very productive cooperative effort. Thank you.
Salute. Just want everybody at home to know that we are drinking water.
Is there anything else, Larry?
There were, yes. Before we conclude tonight's ceremony, I would like to invite Lynn Hartman to come up and say a few words, who, as you have mentioned, without her family donating the land, this project could not have moved forward. So we'd like to very much extend our appreciation and to invite Lynn to come up to say a few words.
Why aren't we?
I'd like to say that it's sort of a bittersweet thing to see this project come about. I actually grew up on that land on Sutton Ave, and actually my brother, we played in that same spot where the water tower is, and we collected ants and stuff like that. And so actually, one of the things I requested to Joe when we did dedicate this land, because I do believe we never know what happens in the future, and I think when you have something and you can help a whole bunch of people, I think it's really important when a bunch of people get together and you grow up in a town. And my brother actually, Kenneth Johnson, died in Vietnam in 1960, 9. And actually, what I want to do is I actually want to put a plaque on the water tower so he'll be remembered for a long time. Because his goal was to come back to Oxford, and he really mixed Oxford. And we actually really love growing up here. So I'm glad to see a lot of people are going to benefit from this water tower. As much as I don't care for the look of it, sorry. I have to tell you that because I am a farmer at heart and I do like the land, but sometimes we have to change for the 21st century and think about how we can benefit people in the future because we never know what's going to happen. Okay, so I want to thank the town of Oxford for just being able to be brought up here and having people be so nice to us. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. I'd like to, when we do something like this, it's often, we forget somebody or not deliberately, of course, or fail to mention. But I should also mention the Donald and Carrie Martineau, who own the land next door to the tank, over which we have a driveway. It was a deal we made that whereby we built their driveway, they gave us a permanent easement over it for access to the tank. So there is a quid pro quo involved, but it's still, they were willing to work with us to help us make this happen, and it's worth mentioning.
Well, that concludes our program, and I would like to thank the Board of Selectmen for letting us have a formal dedication ceremony for this tank and to celebrate this wonderful public-private partnership, and also, too, for members of the audience for coming and joining us in this celebration. We really appreciate you taking the time. Members of the legislature, thank you very much. Senator, representatives, for taking the time to join our event and to help celebrate with us. So in parting, I'll just leave with one last quote by Henry David Thoreau, who said, "Water is the only drink for a wise man." Thank you.
Thank you.
And the wise man just entered.
Thank you.
Board members, would you like to make any comments? Or I think everything has been said and quite eloquently. So if there's nothing further, I don't know if anybody from the audience would like to say anything else.
You want to say food? Donald wants to say food.
I guess that there are some, there's some.
The engineers have provided some refreshments at the back of the meeting room on the table and back. I think we have a short enough agenda, we might be able to join them.
Okay. Thank you.
Is Mrs. Royko here?
Hi.
Do you know Mrs. Royko?
I do not.
Mrs. Royko?
She said she would be here.
Isn't that her in the green?
Yes, maybe. I didn't see her, I saw Valerie.
Okay, we are a few minutes behind schedule, not too bad. The next item on the agenda is the introduction of applicant for Cultural Council, applicant Alice Royko. Royko, thank you. Ma'am, would you like to come forward and make yourself comfortable? Thank you for joining us this evening. And we do have, of course, your application to serve on the Cultural Council. Is there anything you'd like to add to it or introduce yourself further to the people at home?
I'm Alice Royko. I've lived in Oxford for just about 25 years now, and I love Oxford. It's a great community, and I wanted to give back to the community. That's why I would like to be a member of the Cultural Council.
Great, great. Board members, questions, comments? Selectman Lamountain.
Just like to thank her for putting her application in. I look forward to voting you in. Thanks for volunteering.
You're welcome.
It's a
It's my
pleasure to work
pleasure,
with you.
really. My pleasure.
It's good to have good people. It makes the town go. If you've been here for 25 years, you know the.
It's a great community. I love it. I love it here.
I like
Thank you.
that.
I will entertain a motion to make the appointment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 absent. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was easy.
This one. Make sure I'm following my agenda. Okay, the next item on the agenda, we have a vote to postpone the special permit for earth removal, the address at 191 Southbridge Road. I'll entertain a motion to postpone the public hearing for the special permit for earth removal.
So moved.
Second.
And we will continue it, postpone it, excuse me, until July 8th, 2008 at 7:30 PM. And I have a motion,
So moved.
Second.
and I have a second discussion. There being none, I will call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 absent, motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda was an item that Selectman Lamountain had requested we bring up,
Madam Chair?
discuss. And this would be policies 1208B and 1208C. Selectman Lamountain.
Thank you. 2 weeks ago at our last meeting, when Selectman Coonan knew he wasn't going to be available for this meeting, he asked if we could hold this until such a time as he would be present. So at the time, of course, I was acting chair because you weren't available. I told him I would mention it to you. So I'm asking out of courtesy to Dan that we hold this until our next meeting or whenever you see your agenda freed up to do so.
Okay, what is the next, and that's fine, is your item? July 8th would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I think that the time that you've allotted is sufficient, the 20 minutes I see here on the agenda. That's fine. Selectmen's request, town manager's report. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Under minutes, we request the board vote to approve the meeting minutes of May 13 and May 18. All were present. Pleasure of the board.
I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Somebody's saying it.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 4 in the affirmative, 1 absent, motion carries.
Under appointments, I recommend the board vote to reappoint Mr. Terrence Cummings as second delegate for the CMRPC until June 30th, 2009. Pleasure of the board.
I'd entertain a motion to make that appointment.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded, discussion. I would just like to say that Mr. Cummings serves this position very, very well. He goes to all the meetings, and whenever I see him, he usually has some tidbits or information for the board and relays those to our clerk about what's going on with the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. So I'm happy to make this appointment and keep a good man in that position. He does a good job. Having said that, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 absent, motion carries.
I think the appointment papers are in the to be signed. Your clerk's done that. Injured on duty. Request the board vote to approve the injured on duty request of a police officer for injuries received on June 4th, 2008, and that he be paid IOD beginning on June 6th of 2008 and continue until he is released from his physician's care. Additionally, any sick leave charged during this period shall be returned. The paperwork is in the to be signed folder. Pleasure of the board.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. There being none, I will call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 absent.
We have an annual request from Lee Cahill to use the Huguenot Fort site for an amateur radio exercise on the 27th, 28th, and 29th of June. This is an annual event. Pleasure of the board.
I would entertain a motion to approve that request.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. There being none, I will call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 absent.
Under the heading Community Center, DPW Director Sean Dival informed me today that the basketball hoops have arrived and his crew is preparing to assemble the hoops and the stands and install the foundations for the poles. I think Chairman Casey will appreciate that these are clear acrylic backboards,
Yes, I do. I don't know if anybody else does.
and they are adjustable in height. I think Selectman Sad and I will like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So we can have Junior League there
Casey
as
and I
well.
are going to have a one-on-one to dedicate the,
Okay. We'll let the clerk schedule that.
I'm taking book.
Okay. Summer recreation activities at the Oxford Community Center will be starting soon. I'd like to notify our viewers that the internal gates at the community center will be closed by the end of this week, no later than Friday, June 20th. Through traffic will no longer be possible through the community center site, so you want to be careful in choosing your routes. The Carbuncle Beach House access project is complete. Our thanks to Project Coffee staff and their students. They did a ramp from the parking lot, an accessible ramp to the front door, and did a rear stairway out of the building. It's and we used our gift from Home Depot to accomplish that. So it was a very nice project. It benefited them and us directly.
Could I ask that we send a letter off to those students and those teachers who participated and oversaw that project, a letter of thanks from the Board of Selectmen on behalf of the town?
That's a motion, I'll second it.
Thank you. Will you second it? Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Call for the vote?
Yes.
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 Yes, four in the affirmative.
Please be advised that we've received a petition signed by 83 Oxford residents requesting a meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the abutters and neighbors in the area of the proposed skateboard park to discuss a number of concerns that they have raised in their document. I suggest we forward the questions to the appropriate staff members to formulate answers before you schedule a meeting. We are working on an advertisement for bids for proposals to bid the park, so this may be an opportunity to get public input into the design. And finally,
Just on that point here, I'm having the opportunity to look at this petition, just flipping through it, and I see that there are several questions in here that I recall specifically were answered at that informational meeting that we had some weeks ago, which I just want people to understand that we were not required in any way to have a public hearing, but we did, out of courtesy for residents, students, the kids involved, parents who were interested, we did have a discussion about that. We advertised it in the schools on the scroll. So we did have that meeting, and I do think that it makes sense, rather than having some of the questions are very good. Rather than having a repetitive session or a free-for-all, let's get as many questions answered. And I think if people, in looking at some of these questions, if they watch that tape, if they contact the Selectmen's office, they will see that many of these questions had been answered already, and maybe they didn't have an opportunity to see the meeting. So if we could get those answers and see what questions are left at the end of the day, I certainly am a free speech, let's vet the issue person, but we did already have a meeting, and I just want to make sure that it's going to be productive. So, and I see some of the signatures are not necessarily abutters either, so if we could do that, that would be great.
Most of them.
I didn't know if anybody else have anything on that.
No, Madam Chair, if I can agree with Joe and what he recommends. We have a community center, and this is going to be part of the community center facility. We have a recreation committee that works hand in hand with the community center. The professionals that we have over there don't seem to have a problem with the skateboard park going in there. I mean, I hate to use the term NIMBY, but that's what this seems like. Folks don't want a skateboard park downtown, yet they don't want the skaters downtown. They want these kids to be moved to the north end of town, and that's where they want them to stay, where there's no houses or anything. Again, folks are being reactive. They're trying to be proactive here in a situation where I see that we should give it a try. The money's been approved. There have been informational meetings held on this. Joe, by all means, get it over to Stacy and to Joel and whoever you need to try to get the answers to these people. I don't know how they'd be answered, Jen, if it would be in this forum, where you read off the questions and give the answers, have those people present the answers, post it that way. I don't know how we're going to get the answers to the 83 individuals that signed this petition.
Yeah, that is going to be problematic, and I just want to point out that while we are entertaining the questions, I certainly don't agree with the accuracy of the petition paragraphs at the top, that this is an inappropriate location for a recreation area, that the Board of Selectmen has failed to solicit opinions. I don't think that there's anything requiring us to do that. I think we've gone above and beyond. This has always been a recreation area. I think it was Selectman LaMountain who pointed that out, that the deed that transferred this property to the town specifically said school or park. So, we're not reinventing any wheels here, and I just want to point that out, that while we may entertain these questions, and we'll do the best we can to answer them, that I don't necessarily agree with the way that the petition, I don't think it's necessarily accurate, that we haven't notified people, or that this wasn't a recreation area for as long as this board has been, everybody on this board has been alive, and then some years. So we'll get the questions answered to the best of our ability and go from there. Okay.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you.
Chairman. And this is finally on the list. The Fox 25 news broadcast. Request the board vote to approve the use of the Oxford Common, the town common, by Fox 25 News. It's for their zip trip. I think they go around zip codes. I don't know if they're doing them in order. For Friday, July 4th, they will be, if this is approved, their plan is to enter town at 3:30 in the morning and start setting up, and they'll do a live broadcast, a television broadcast, from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pleasure of the board.
Would entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 absent.
I don't know if any of you will be available for the... Okay. There was one thing off agenda, or off my list, if I may, Madam Chairman. We've been, as you know, I've been trying to get a date that everybody can attend the ceremonial groundbreaking for the new police station. I think I've hit it. Your meeting on July 8th, I'd like to schedule the groundbreaking for that evening before the Selectmen's meeting at the site. I have it on I hope that he's not kidding me, because I'm going to say this, Mike. The police chief has found that the shovel that was used for the groundbreaking at the building he's in now, so it's about, 30 years? 71 was it built, so it's almost 40 years. If that's true, we'll have to make sure we make use of that. But it'll be a nice, it should take less time than the water tank dedication. That finishes my report.
Thank you. Thank you. Selectman Lamountain.
Okay, Madam Chair, I have a couple items this evening. Back, I don't know, a month and a half ago or so, I asked the board to consider some sort of a bylaw which would, or an ordinance, requiring mortgage holders of properties involved in foreclosure proceedings to enlighten the town of Oxford that they are foreclosing, and to put a registered agent on record, if you will, and to also consider doing something about the abandoned properties, be it an empty building tax or any property that goes over 1 year, give or take, being empty, because, it does create a nuisance to the people in the town and on services of the town, police, fire, board of health, animal control. There's all sorts of things that occur with empty buildings. I don't have anything written as of yet. I just wanted to get a sense from the board if it is something that they'd be considered looking at, if I was to, take some time to draft something for you to review, or if you think, hey, should we just leave things status quo? Because it is something I would like to take up pretty soon if we're going to. So it's FYI.
Selectman Sad.
Yes. Hank, I can remember in our packet a while back, we received a list of all the foreclosures in Oxford.
Okay.
Now, yeah.
Yes.
Now, where do we get that from?
Okay, see. Very nice.
Now, would this be duplicating that? I mean, if this information is readily available to us and the administrative staff in the town hall, why would we need a bylaw to get it?
Well, you know what, John, and again, this is wonderful. I wasn't familiar with this, if Casey can get it, but I guess the question I have is, where it says status, it has the Warren Group foreclosures. It says the property and that it's under foreclosure, but it doesn't say if there's a problem there, who do we go to? We took down the swimming pool on Millbury Boulevard. We had no place to turn. There was no registered agent. So Jeff Wilson, because it was a public safety issue, went down to tear the pool down to drain the water to make sure no kids drowned. The the food and fuel, I mean, we understand what happened with that. That wasn't a foreclosure, that was a walkaway. But down in, I believe on Patton Street, right across from your father, if I'm not mistaken, Jen, there's a house that's empty. There was another resident who came up to me, and I can't recall where the neighborhood is. Maid Marian, there's an empty house where the owner or the bank went in to do a septic Title V exam and just left the ground wide open.
Yeah.
You know, so, and nobody knows how to get in touch with these people. I don't know if it's information you can get your hands on.
Well, I think you actually have to subscribe to get any, further information. Either that or the periodical. Either you subscribe online or to the periodical.
But what I'm saying is they might have that information, that group may already have that information.
Okay.
If it's us, paying a fee to have them supply it to us on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, rather than to implement a law.
Well, that'd be wonderful.
And if not, by all means, I think the bylaw would be
Well, you
fine.
know what, I'll deal with KC on that to find out how easy and what's involved with that. But then the second part to this, John, was for the people who own the properties, who aren't in foreclosure, but are absentee owners who leave the buildings empty. And I'm going to use the former Getty station on Main Street. That gentleman owned it for the last 3-4 years. We sold that at auction to him years and years ago. And then he did some environmental work on the outside, but did nothing to the building. And for years, we all rode by it and we watched it deteriorate more and more and more. Now he's starting to do something. I would like to have some sort of almost an abandoned property tax or an empty property tax that the clock ticks for a year, you pay your regular tax, and if it's empty that long and you haven't done anything, then this new tax kick to make it so it doesn't behoove you to leave it empty, so that it doesn't remain or create an eyesore. That was years, John, and I mean, and I actually, it was you, John, when we were marching in a Memorial Day parade 3-4 years ago. You looked over and said, I can't believe that building's just sitting there like that, on our Main Street. I believe that's what you said. On our Main Street, this is what we have, and that's what we were looking forward towards. He started working on it again, and I know he's going before a planning board right now to get some things done. Putting the new glass in was nice, but 4 years to get to that point, John. And I'd like to do something to try to motivate and for the neighborhoods as well.
I have no problem with that at all, Hank. I'm just throwing this out because I remember it coming across our desk with that information, and by all means, if it doesn't give us what you're looking for, let's do a bylaw. Let's do whatever we have to do to get the information we need.
Beautiful.
I agree.
I think that there was an article, foreclosures create local challenges. If it was attached, I think clerk attached it to this. What it explains is that we can assess levies, penalties against abandoned property and actually go after banks who participate in this abandonment. When the person walks, the homeowner can't afford it, they just leave. The bank just leaves it there. The grass overgrows, gets broken into, vandalized, kids are in there, becomes a health hazard. In Providence, I don't know, excuse me, if we'd want to look at their bylaw, but they did assess a levy of $10 to 100.
$10 per hundred?
$10 per
10%,
hundred of
Joe.
assessed value on any abandoned property. In fact, there was in Buffalo, New York, which has an unusually high portion of vacant buildings, has filed suit against 36 mortgage companies. The city seeks $2 million in damages to cover the cost of demolishing dozens of abandoned structures. Now, we're not at that level, but if this Warren Group report is accurate, there's 61 foreclosures pending in Oxford, or there were in the recent
That's
future.
why I remember us
past.
getting that in our packet, because I was amazed when I looked at it and said, wow, 60 some odd people are being foreclosed on in our small town.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
So I think that if the bylaw, if you wanted to draft it, I know that this is in the Beacon,
yeah.
so it's afoot. I see the city of Lawrence is referenced here. So if we could draft up something and bring it back to the table, it sounds like there's support.
I'll work with KC. We'll get the copies of those other bylaws and see what we can do. Next, Madam Chair, the Depot Road Route 12 intersection that the state just spent all sorts of money in repairing or making better, if you will. I hate to say it, but we had it better with a $200 sign and 6 pylons that stop left-hand turns onto Depot Road. And I hate to use the word pylons because that's going to have to, of course, bring us to the Sutton Ave issue. But, Joe, could you, since Route 12 and Depot have been reopened as a two-way street again, Could you have Mike or Jeff get together the statistics on the accidents that have occurred there? I think we were better off before the project was done. People are still taking that 45-degree angle to go up Depot Road at 45 miles an hour, and the T-bones have been happening. I believe there's been 4 or 5 times the ambulance has already been called out there.
I'll get the statistics.
Thank you. And then, I may ask the board after we get those stats to write a letter to Mass Highway to say, hey, listen, what you did didn't work. And maybe we can bring it back to the way we had it. And on that same thing, that project's not complete. And I should, for the folks at home, disclose that I do own the property at 600 Main Street, which was in the butt to that project. Joe, they've never fixed the driveway. They cut it up halfway, they put the catch basin in, and they've never repaved. Now, I've talked with Mike Kamasi, who has said he'll get out there. He represented Mass Highway. Said Amarillo would be there to do the job. It's been how long? And my tenant is there with half a driveway and a big old bump in there. So, I'm asking as, I guess, a taxpayer in this situation, if you could, if the town could apply pressure, because they did leave one of the residents not whole. Which then brings me, Jen, to Sutton Avenue. We've all been getting inundated with emails on the pylons that we put in. And I will be quick to say I would rather be proactive than reactive. Depot Road, which I mentioned just previously, is a road when we tried to be proactive, nothing occurred. But when Mrs. Keenan was killed, the state became very reactive, and they put those pylons up rather quickly. It was done on a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. We, for 6 years, this board has been discussing Sutton Avenue and the need to do something. We've had studies done where they've come up and recommended roundabouts in the center of town, which I believe all 5 members of this board said no way to that. One-way streets on Barton or Charlton Street in an attempt to divert traffic. So there was a vote taken by this board to have those pylons put in. They were installed, Joe, if I'm not mistaken, 6 days ago, right? I believe it was 6 days ago. In 6 days, I've probably talked with 30 or 40 people, read different emails. I'm getting a warm reception at best, half hot, half cold. The residents of Park Street don't like them. They can't see around them. When they want to pull out of Park Street and take their left-hand turn up to the center, I guess the height is kind of at a point where there's some sight visibility problems that occur. I don't know. I guess if I was having a problem and didn't trust it, I'd go down to the jug handle personally and turn around, but that's my own take on it. But I did talk with one of the residents who has a trailer and lives on that street. And because of the way the pylons come right up to Park Street, he can't make the turn with his trailer. And he has asked, and it makes sense, if we could just remove the barrel that's in the crosswalk that says crosswalk and 3 of the pylons, he believes he'd be able to make that turn. And I say this because, we didn't know what was going to happen with these pylons. Were they going to be the save-all? Were they going to be nothing? We don't know. I know it's continuous improvement, and that was a legitimate request. As far as the view goes and the height, I don't know if there's some way to cut those pylons to lower them. That's a question to the town manager with a former knowledge of engineering.
Well, as a cutting engineer, I could say, yeah, we could cut them. I don't know if they would continue to meet the MUTCD standards for pylons. I'd have to check that.
Okay, and that's something I don't know.
And I know that, you want me to continue?
Please. Oh, yes.
Okay. On some of the other points you raised, that the complaints or the comments that have come in, I don't want to characterize all of the correspondence we've had as complaints. We've had some folks that have, as you pointed out, I'm having trouble, and will say, but I support the dividing of Sutton Avenue. But there are problems with traffic. People have immediate needs, and one of those immediate needs is a cup of coffee. If they're going up from the highway, they want to turn into Dunkin' Donuts, I would suggest to you that even if we had a roundabout at where the traffic light is now, they would still turn into Park Street to do that U-turn. And they have done this. And people are appalled at the inconsiderate nature of some of the drivers out there. So, having said that, as these comments come in, they are forwarded to DPW, to the folks that need to consider it. I know Sean has dealt with one of the folks that has recreational trailer and had difficulty. They worked out a solution. And so we will continue to tweak the design if it means taking out almost every other pylon so that the visibility is better. We could do that. I know that they've spaced them 5 feet apart. If we take out every other one, they'll then be 10 feet apart. But if we keep the close spacing in front of the driveways where we want to convince people not to turn left, it won't matter if 20 feet away there's a wider gap. So I think we can continue to react to the comments as they come in, because they're good, and I welcome the comments, because, we're trying to achieve a particular goal, and if it causes a problem, then that's the whole purpose of the experiment. Thank you.
And Joe, in particular goal, and I like the fact that you used that word, the particular goal here is public safety, not public inconvenience, not to put Dunkin' Donuts out of business. I know when I took that vote, it was for public safety. And the final thing is if you could, now U-turns, I don't understand a U-turn. I know that if the sign says no U-turn, I can't make a U-turn onto Sutton Ave. But if I go onto and take up the mouth of Park Street to make a U-turn, is that still an illegal U-turn when it says no U-turns?
Yeah.
Okay, but I could go up Park Street, turn around in the Dunkin' Donuts property, come back out onto Park Street, that's not a U-turn.
What we're finding is that I saw one correspondence, I think it was a telephone call, but it then generated an email that went to Karen, who's the clearinghouse for all of the comments. Lady was appalled. She wanted to turn left into Park Street. She was behind somebody who was also turning left into Park Street. The person in front of her pulled in and then immediately backed back out onto Sutton Avenue so they could head the other direction. And she was just appalled. And that's the kind of problem we have.
And that's
People are just
illegal.
Yes.
Okay, and that's where,
Backing into the highway.
that's where I ask, through the chair to you, that the chief of police be made aware that enforcement, especially at this time where it is so new, enforcement of the traffic control regulations be implemented and observed, and people are held accountable for their actions. I mean, I want my coffee, but, if I make an illegal U-turn, that's a moving violation. I get points added to my insurance base, and it's surchargeable. So, I know it's continuous improvement. It's been 6 days. I ask that folks give it some time and be somewhat patient with it. As the legitimate concerns come up, we are trying to address them. I know that you have been awesome in forwarding us over every email that you've been receiving and translating every telephone call. So, that's all I have, Jen.
Well, on that, I'm sure we have comments as maybe it should have been an agenda item, but I would be inclined, unless Selectman Glant, who's it's her turn to speak on Selectman's request, to kind of open that up to the board members if anybody has any comments or questions on Sutton Ave. Selectman Glant.
Well, that was my request also. I travel by there 8 or 10 times a day, sometimes more than that. And I've seen people turn around in Park Street, turn around, pull into Park Street, back up into the parking spaces in the building on the corner of Park Street and Sutton Ave, turn around by the railroad tracks. So is any of that illegal? Is it illegal to pull into Park Street and back into a parking space and turn around? Again, I don't think we're eliminating left-hand turns. We're only changing where they're happening. They're turning around at Honey Farms to go back. So I disagree. I think that they should come down, but I guess I'm going to be in the minority here. Is that illegal, Joe, to turn into Park Street and back into a spot and turn around?
I don't know. I'm going to check.
I didn't think it was.
So.
So enforcement to a point.
What do you mean when you say to pull into Park Street?
You pull into Park Street, there is an apartment
But where are you coming
building.
from? Are you eastbound, westbound? What lane are you in?
You're
westbound on Sutton Avenue, you're taking a left into Park Street.
right.
Okay.
And then there's an apartment building on the corner. There are parking spaces right there. So they're turning in. I've seen this several times, backing into those spots and turning around.
Yeah, I was going to suggest a local traffic only sign be posted. It goes to the enforcement issue, but is it illegal? No, because residents have to pull in there. That's how they would pull into the street.
To back into that spot, it's not a U-turn, it's a, I don't know what it is, but
There's a local
I
traffic
don't think
sign.
so, but we'll find out what it
enforceable?
is.
A local traffic only sign, yes. I think it would
that
be.
is enforceable?
I think it is, yes.
Okay.
especially if the police officers are familiar, if they see somebody do that. And there really is no reason for somebody to pull down there unless they live there. I mean, it's virtually a dead end. I mean, the way those two streets run.
There should also be a dead-end sign there too, Madam Chair,
Dead end sign, good idea.
because a lot of people, especially if they're not familiar with the area, might think that that's another way out,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
So, Madam Chair, is that a motion to,
It's a motion, and I'll add the dead end sign as
and I will
well.
second that.
If I may, on the dead end sign, we received these correspondence from, it's like a public works school that UMass offers. They call it Bay State Roads. And the last article I saw that really caught my attention was the distinction between no outlet and dead end. Park Street, in the case of Park Street, which has Pond Street off at the end, it would be more appropriate to say no outlet, because from Park you can go to Pond, but you can't go anywhere else. At Walcott and Lynn, and maybe I'm just being overly technical, but they're dead ends, okay? So we'll put an appropriate sign up there to indicate that they can't go anywhere.
It might be more effective to say no outlets. You might be less inclined to turn down a street if you don't know how you're going to get out. Okay, that's a motion. I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 4 in the affirmative, motion carries. Selectman Glante, you still had the floor
That's all I had, Madam Chair.
on that issue. Selectman Sad?
On that issue, again, I'm sure we all got the phone calls. I talked to the gentleman with the trailer too, and I talked to other people on Park Street. And I just feel that we have to give it a chance. It's only been a week. I thought that I would be getting more negative complaints from Park Street residents than I am. I'm getting complaints from Park Street residents, but they're willing to work with us. They know that it's a temporary thing, and, you know, it's a wait-and-see kind of thing. And, yeah, they are inconvenienced. There are a lot of cars, I said it at the last meeting, that was my biggest fear, that they were going to use Park Street to turn around and to go to Dunkin' Donuts, and sure and heck, that's exactly what they're doing. And maybe after it's been there a couple of weeks, and people who travel that area all the time know that they can't do that anymore, maybe it'll pan itself out. I think we have to take a wait-and-see attitude. I think it's too soon to just take them down. I think we ought to give it a shot. But I'll tell you, I have real concerns about going the whole length. If we're getting this kind of concern just in front of one establishment, what's going to happen if we put dividers all the way down, to the bank? I mean, that could be a big problem. So let this be a learning experience for us and see how we make out. It might just end up, it doesn't work.
I do have a couple comments. I know that Ms. Dowse is here. She did send us an email. I would extend the floor to you if you wanted to say anything. Sure.
Hi, I'm Valerie Joust. I live at 17 Park Street, and I just have a couple of questions. I think your suggestions are very good. I understand it is a temporary thing. How long do you consider temporary until you make your determination as to what's going to happen with this situation?
I think that's a great question. When we look at this, the way that we've been running the stats on the accidents, because I did speak to the town engineer today about the number of accidents in '07, '06, '05, '04, and the way that we've been keeping the data, and we probably could look at it more closely, has been annually, and it appears that in '07, there were 20 accidents in that year on this particular area along Sutton Avenue, and what I think might make sense is maybe a 60 to 90-day period and see what type of numbers we have after that. Because at a 20 accident ratio in 2007, you're talking almost an accident every week and a half. So I certainly would like to see, I'm speaking for myself, I don't know if we have a time frame, some type of quantitative period of time where we can look at the data and say there have been no accidents or there have been X amount of accidents, and where are they with respect to this roadway? So I I personally would suggest a 60 to 90-day period and see where that takes. If something happens between now and then maybe we take a look at it again. But I just put that out there to my colleagues. We need some type of basis, I think, to collect some data before we say yes, no, change this, change that. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments on that. But Selectman Glenn?
Just an increase in accidents is what is going, or a decrease will determine whether they're going to stay or not, in a 60 to 90-day period.
I think that is something that we need to look at. For me, it probably would be a major factor on what to do, whether they're working or not. And I think during that period of time, I know it's probably a culture shock for the neighborhood in some respects. It's a change in your everyday routine in life, but
Well, we knew something was going to be done, and we knew it was a situation that you all were working on. I think part of the problem that I and several of my neighbors that I've talked to have is that, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but there seems to be a very big lack of enforcing the no U-turn. And I realize our police force is stretched to the limit, and it's very difficult to actually have somebody park there all day long or stand there all day long and just issue tickets. But trust me, that could be a full-time job for one person, it could be for 3 people. And different times of the days, it doesn't matter. I'm very concerned. This morning was a nightmare trying to get off of Park Street, and I understand we have to try to do something, but it's.
hold on, let me get my agenda. You back on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, great. Okay, we'll call the Selectmen's meeting back to order. We are in open session now. We have a public hearing for a pole location on Federal Hill Road. I know that there is a proponent here for this request. Good evening.
Madam Chair,
Selectman Lamountain.
I will not be participating nor voting on this issue since the poll was a request by me for a piece of property in which I own.
Thank you for that disclosure. For the record, I will read the public hearing notice into the record. Under the provisions of the, General Laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 166, and any additions or amendments thereto, please be advised that at the meeting of Tuesday, July 8, 2008, at 7:25 p.m. in the Town Hall, second floor meeting room, 325 Main Street, Oxford, Massachusetts, the Oxford Board of Selectmen will consider a request to give National Grid and Verizon New England, Inc. permission to install one jointly owned pole on Federal Hill Road, beginning at a point approximately 1,650 feet northeast of the center line of the intersection of Airport Development Road. If you have any questions, you can contact the Selectmen's office at 508-987-6027. Also in our packets, we have here notice that the abutters were contacted regarding this request. I don't see any abutters present. This is a public hearing, and as is common practice, we have a map which indicates where the proposed pole would go. Have any questions or comments from my board members? If I do not, I would entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved. Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Being none, I will call for the vote.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
4 in the affirmative, 1 abstention, motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, special permit for earth removal at 191 Southbridge Road. I, at this point, would, to open the hearing, thank you. I will open, we'll open the public hearing at this time, and I know the town manager has a report on this.
Thank you. I've discussed this matter, this application with the applicant, and pointed out to him that there's, the plan as drawn shows a violation of an essential requirement of the earth removal chapter of our zoning bylaw, which is that he cannot excavate below the existing grade within 50 feet of a property boundary. The applicant has accepted that and has requested in writing a your permission to withdraw his application. Like that, I'll present that to the chairman.
Thank you. For the record, this is dated July 8th, 2008. Dear Chairwoman Casey and members of the board, while discussing our present application with town staff members, we've decided to follow a different approach to our current request for an earth removal permit. Therefore, we wish to withdraw our present application without prejudice from further consideration at this time. Thank you for your consideration in this matter, and please call me at 508-333-7630 if you have any questions. Sincerely, Edward L. Pesci, P.E., member, Old Oxford Realty Partners, LLC. This was CC'd to David Nugian, the town engineer planner, and it's from Old Oxford Realty Partners, LLC.
Our discussion with the applicant was around the idea that rather than him try to amend an application and with the resultant confusion that comes up, which plan are we talking about, this is a neater way, we'll wrap up this application. He indicates that he will then submit another application and had requested that the board consider waiving the fee, because we're kind of doing this at his request. I would suggest that if you're so inclined to do that, that all accept the cost of advertising and notifying abutters. The plans will be reviewed by staff as part of the subdivision plan for the Ashworth Hill, so we won't incur any double costs in that other than the advertising and notifying abutters. Under the law, you need to formally vote to accept a withdrawal at this late date. He could have withdrawn it before the public hearing was advertised, and that's all I have to offer.
Thank you. Selectman Lamountain.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we accept the withdrawal of the special permit for the earth removal at that location as requested.
Okay, and we're also going to deal with the waiver,
And we waive
the new application fee.
the fees that we don't have to put out. I'd still like to get reimbursed the costs, Joe said, for advertising and notification of abutters.
Absolutely.
So with all fees other than those being waived.
Okay. For any further discussion? There being, do I have a second? Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
Good. That ends that.
Okay. Okay, the next,
Along those lines, if I may, Madam Chairman, you'll recall the applicant had requested the approval of street names for the Ashworth Hill subdivision. The names he wishes to use are Ashworth Hill Road, Evergreen Way, Granite Street, Dogwood Road, and the road from Route 20 would be called Shea Road, S-H-E-A Road. Pleasure of the board.
I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Selectman Sad.
Yes, one of the streets you named, I think we may already have one, Granite Street. I think we have a Granite Street.
Staff hasn't reported back on that?
No? Why do I think we have a Granite Street? So it's
Okay.
Garnet Street.
We have Garnet. We have Garner and Garnet.
Garnet Street, I'm thinking of. Okay. All right, if they've checked that out, I have no problem with it.
Okay. Fine.
Okay, any further discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, 5 in the affirmative.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Selectmen's request and town manager's report. Town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Request the board vote to approve the meeting minutes of April 29th, 2008. All were present. Pleasure of the board.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative.
Resignations. We've received a letter of resignation from Mr. Robert E. St. George. He's resigning his position from the Historical Commission, effective immediately. The town clerk has reported that Mr. Michael Vos has resigned as a member of the Planning Board, effective June 24th, 2008.
Mr. Manager, if we could, would like to send letters to those two gentlemen, thanking them for their service on those respective boards and commissions.
Very nice.
Very good.
Thank you.
And then the obvious result is that there are appointments. I've appointed Mr. Thomas Sullivan as a member of the Planning Board to fill an unexpired term until the annual town election of 2010. He'll fill Mr. Bose's unexpired term. You'll recall Mr. Sullivan was a member of the North Oxford Sewer Study Committee. Quite active member of that. Did a good job. Town Moderator Russell Rowe has appointed Mr. Terrence A. Cummings to the Finance Committee and Ms. Dolores Lyons as a member of the Board of Trustees for the Cecilia J. Smolensky Millette Charitable Trust 2.
Selectman Glant.
Joe, who is left the Smolenski Millet Trust?
All night it's been off.
Whose position is Dolores?
I'll think of it. John Doherty.
Oh, yes, he was moved.
Okay.
I think that's a wonderful appointment, because that is her sister, that's
Yes,
Cecilia's sister.
yeah, and it took some convincing, but she did fill out the application. I'm glad to have her there, because she knows what Zeke wanted. We have received you have received an application from Ms. Marla Zaneski to become a member of the Cultural Council. It's a joint appointment by the Board of Selectmen and the Town Manager. I have provided a disclosure statement, which is in your packets. I'd like to read. I should read. To the Board of Selectmen, in accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 268A, that's 268A, Section 23B3, I am writing to disclose the fact that Marla S. Zaneski, applicant for appointment to the Cultural Council, is my wife, but that this fact in no way affects my ability to act in a fair and impartial manner in that appointment. As you know, the Cultural Council as chartered has a minimum membership of 5, a maximum of 22. It depends on how many people are interested. There are 7 right now, current members. Each member can serve no more than 2 3-year consecutive terms. I think the fairness is obvious. Mrs. Zaneski's the only applicant right now, so I believe that's fair. Pleasure of the board.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second discussion. Being done, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative.
Thank you. Renunciation of rights. The Collector's Office has received a check, and the Selectmen can now release the lien concerning 29 Millbury Boulevard. There's a form that will be recorded at